What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey, episode number 186, presented by the Barroom Network. It is the home of everything relating to the greatest sport in the world, the sport of hockey. My name is Vinny Parisi, and I am a believer that the New Jersey Devils will win the Stanley Cup. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he is the king of all beans. Frank, you beanhead.
How you doing, VP?
You're not going to respond to me calling you a beanhead?
Yeah, it's my nickname, right?
Yeah, I know.
I take all the different kinds.
When it came out of my mouth, I was like, beanhead. Oh. Okay.
Does that mean I'm a Bruin?
The Beanhead Bruins. Yeah. We all know and love the Beanhead Bruins. Frank, in today's show, we are going to divide it like we did last week into a hockey half and a football half. What do you think?
Hey, that's fine with me. I don't mind it. I think it's kind of smart. Touch a little bit on hockey, touch a little bit on football. Yeah, I like the periods, but
I like the periods too. But when you got this much football and so little time,
it's coming to an end too. So
yeah. Unfortunately. But I think it was on Pardon My Take like 3 or 4 years ago. Big Cat described the NFL season like a big delicious sandwich, right? And all the best ingredients are at the end of the sandwich. The whole sandwich is good. There's meat, there's cheese, there's, the good veggies, but the end is where you get into like the extra flavors. There's extra meat, there's extra cheese, the sauce is outstanding at the end of the sandwich, but you're almost done with the sandwich. And that's the negative part. You're almost done with the sandwich, but it's the best part of the sandwich. We are about to eat the best part of the sandwich. And we're not going to be full when it's done, but that's the reality of it. Really quick, though, we're going to talk about the NHL for about a half hour or so. First of all, Frank, how you doing, man? You asked me and I never answered. I just asked about beanheads.
I'm doing good. I'm just enjoying sports. I'm enjoying the heat wave we have of weather.
25 degrees.
It feels like a heat wave. It actually feels pretty nice.
Oh, it's balmy outside. I'm ready to go swimming.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm ready to put on some shorts. But no, I'm good. I'm good. Nothing new.
I'm excited for this weekend in every aspect. Football, hockey. And I know people are really getting hyped up about college basketball now too. I know that's heating up real nice. Have you been watching?
March Madness is right around the corner.
Who did Georgia just lose to yesterday? Was it Arkansas, where it was like the crazy ending?
Yeah, it was a couple days ago.
Was it a couple days ago?
Yeah, I think it was Wednesday.
Maybe it was when. Okay, that makes sense.
I heard about it. It was a good game.
I heard about it. The guy like made an early shot like he shouldn't have or something, and it led to Arkansas coming down and getting a 3 at the end to win it or something.
It was real, and then it was a master class because like I knew you had to miss the free throw on purpose. You had to.
Yeah.
But he missed it better than anybody could have ever missed it. He literally missed it where it doinked off the front of him, went right back to him. He got it and scored immediately. It was like the most beautiful missed free throw I've ever seen. And he probably didn't even mean it to miss it that good to where he would score because the object was to miss it and time run out.
Yeah.
But it was a good game all around.
Missing it and scoring is okay because you are guaranteed you're up by enough points where they can't.
If there was no time left anyway, it went in at the buzzer. Like
got it.
0 seconds left. So yeah, it was.
All I did was pad the stats a little bit along the way. Hell yeah, I love that. Frank, your favorite team in all of sports, the Chicago Blackhawks. A little bit of interesting news over the last couple days, and we will start with some news that I'm very excited about. I've been waiting for this moment. I've been at every game this year except 2.
Mm-hmm.
I've been waiting for this moment all year long. It's the player I was most excited to see them call up, even more than Nazar and Doc, because Nazar and Doc, like everybody's excited for them. It's like, no duh. But like, I've been excited for them to call up Ethan Del Mastro since the beginning, and he finally, after 2 games in the NHL to end last season on his ELC, he comes in this year, plays well for the Rockford Ice Hogs. The offensive numbers aren't quite what they were last year with Rockford, but his defensive game has gotten, has improved. They've been using him in a way where like it's development more than anything. and now he gets to make his season debut in the NHL starting tonight.
Yeah. Del Mastro, he's only posted 8 assists in 38 games with the Ice Hogs this season, but he's been great. He's really looked good with the Ice Hogs. His 8 assists and 8 points each rank 3rd among all team defensemen. He appeared in 2 games with the Blackhawks last season. He made his NHL debut against the Predators April 12th of last year. So we really didn't get a full taste of what he brings. We kind of saw his play style and what he'd be like on the Hawks, but he's had a lot of time down in Rockford, and we kind of get to see how he fares now with the Blackhawks now that he had a little more time to develop down in the AHL. I'm excited. I love Ethan Del Mastro. I was excited when they drafted him, so I'm excited to see him in a Blackhawks uniform again.
Absolutely, it should be fun. And to make room for him on the roster, they put Craig Smith on the injured reserve.
Yeah.
And then that started like a little hissy fit on Twitter.com amongst the Blackhawks community that I've noticed. Well, how can they carry 8 defensemen? Are they making a trade? What's happening? This, that, blah, blah, blah. Hold your horses. Craig Smith went on the IR. He's a forward. I get it. You're concerned about the fact that there's 8 defensemen on the roster. Well, they made the decision to send Nolan Allen to the Rockford Ice Hogs at the end of the day yesterday. I don't believe Nolan Allen is the 8th best defenseman in the organization. I don't believe he's the 7th best defenseman in the organization. I don't believe he's the 6th best defenseman in the organization. He's clearly one of the 5 best. He's played well all season long. He kind of reminds me, and listen, Hjalmarsson was a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, awesome defensive defenseman, horrible in his offensive zone. He couldn't make a breakout pass to save it, but the way he defended was Stanley Cup caliber every single year. Nolan Allen kind of reminds me of him a little bit, with a little more offensive upside, if we're being honest with each other. But that's the way it works when you have veterans on the team that you signed for money to one-way NHL contracts, like Alec Martinez, like TJ Brody. Nolan Allen, he doesn't have to go through waivers to go down to the AHL. They make him the guy so that Del Mastro can get a couple games in the NHL. Sucks to see that. Don't love that, but he'll go to Rockford, play with Korchinski, Levshinov. It's a good group down there. Mm-hmm. The Rockford Ice Hogs have a chance to make the playoffs and, make a run in the Calder Cup playoffs. But I do like this. They are scratching Brody today. And they are putting Del Mastro in the lineup on a pair with I messed up, Frank. I messed up. It's not Nolan Allen they sent down. I'm dumb. I don't even know why. I had Nolan Allen in my head because of what I was about to say, and that's what made me correct myself. They sent Wyatt Kaiser down to Rockford Ice Hogs in that spot. And everything I said about Allen, I believe Wyatt Kaiser is one of the 5 or 6 best defensemen in the organization, ready at the NHL level right now. Obviously, Korchinski, Levchinov, those guys should be better long term. But right now, Wyatt Kaiser deserves to be in over a Brody or an Alec Martinez, but they sent him down. It's Nolan Allen who gets to play with Del Mastro today. I was confused and said that wrong. But yes, Nolan Allen, Del Mastro. That could be a pair 5 years from now, and it's a pair tonight.
It is, and it's good that we get a look at it now. We get to see what it's like now. It could be a lethal pair down the line. But I'm excited that these young guys are finally coming up. Did you see who they signed to an ELC?
That was going to be my next point. The Blackhawks yesterday, in between those transactions of calling up Ethan Del Mastro and sending down Wyatt Kaiser, they signed AJ Spellacy to a entry-level contract, 3 years to the max. He got what a first-round pick gets, $950,000. It's a good move. Here's the thing about Spellacy, and then I'll let you get into your soliloquy about him. 18 years old, ELC, while still playing in the OHL.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And the max contract you can get, too, for our ELC, he got what Connor Bedard got as the number 1 overall pick. And, he was drafted last year, not the year before. So you just know, first of all, Spellacy was outstanding in the preseason. You might remember that game where they were playing against the Minnesota Wild, and we were having, kind of watching on the phones at a bonfire in the preseason. That game, he was awesome. And he kept making it through each cut until the final cut. when they sent him back to the Windsor Spitfires. And since then, he goes there. Not point per game. You know how hard it is to be point per game, especially at 18 years old in the major junior. Especially the OHL was just the best of the 3 major junior leagues. And he has just grabbed the bull by the horn as an 18-year-old. And he has a leadership role at 18 years old now, too. He's wearing an A with the Spitfires. Yep. He's been there since he was 16. He's a young player in that league with a bigger role than most players at that age. You know, guys who do what Spellacy's doing in the OHL are usually like first or second round picks. He was taken in the 3rd. He's on an ELC. This makes it so there's the new rule where major junior players can play for a couple years and then go to college. That starts next year. Spellacy is no longer eligible to do that due to the fact that he signed his ELC, and he will not turn 20 in time to play in the AHL next year. So he either has to play for the Chicago Blackhawks or go back to the Erie Otters next year. I assume he goes back to the Erie Otters again next year. That would be smart. But the ELC is signed. He is locked in with the Blackhawks. And for those wondering, like, why would they do that? Why would they sign him this early when he can't even play in the AHL yet, take away his chance to go to college? That goes to show what Kyle Davidson and his staff think of the guy.
Yeah, and you meant Windsor, not Erie Otters, right?
Yeah, but I said Windsor Spitfires earlier, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Windsor
I just want to make sure I'm not tweaking. I was like,
no, it's the Windsor Spitfires, without question.
Right. No, yeah. I'm excited. 18 years old, like you said, he's so young, and he gets the max. He's a alternate captain. So he's got that, experience of leadership at a lower level. He is going to go back to the OHL. That I'm so confident in that. With the Spitfires this year, 25 points, 11 goals, 14 assists, 40 games. Not bad. That's not bad.
At 18.
At 18, he's 3 assists shy of tying his career high set last season, which means he's progressively getting better on a less competitive team. So I can't imagine what he'd be like when he comes to the Hawks if he keeps developing right. And like I said, he's going back to OHL. We're not going to see a lot of AJ Spellacy right now, but this is a huge step forward in the development process for this kid. And he had a really good training camp VP, real good training camp. Like, he might have had the best training camp of any Blackhawk. So if you're a Blackhawks fan, you should be very excited about this news. Tom texted me about this yesterday, and I was excited. I was ecstatic. I'm very excited for it. We're not going to see a lot of him for right now, but that bodes well for the future. And like you said, on what David said and what the organization thinks of this kid, he might be the sleeper that the Blackhawks drafted. Like, we don't talk a lot about Spellacy on the show. We're talking about Ethan Del Mastro and Korchinski and Lev Shinov and Oliver Moore and all these other guys. We haven't brought up Spellacy really once on this podcast, but down the line, he could be a huge piece of their core potentially. Yeah, he was a 3rd round pick in last year's draft. So, could be a steal. We don't know. I'm excited for him though. I'm very, very excited.
The Windsor Spitfires lead the West Division of the OHL too with a 31-10-2 record. They have 65 points, and the Saginaw Spirit are second in that division with 45 points. They're not going to catch them. They're 20 points behind with, how many months left are there in the season? Like 2 in the OHL. This could be a team that challenges to win the entire OHL and represents it in the Memorial Cup. Obviously the Rimouski Oceanic have an automatic bid. That was Alexis Lafreniere and Sidney Crosby's junior team, for those who don't know. The Oceanic are hosting it, so they get an automatic bid no matter what they do in the QMJHL playoffs, and then the 3 other leagues champion will be in the Memorial Cup. I don't see a team that can challenge. So the London Knights have the best record in the OHL, 35-7-1. They have 71 points. The Windsor Spitfires might have the best chance to upset them in the playoffs. The Kitchener Rangers are really good too. They play in the same division as the London Knights. They would be leading every other division, but they'd be leading Windsor by 1 point. So, they're in the conversation too. But, man, that would be amazing if Spellacy can kind of get to the CHL playoffs, have a chance to win the OHL playoffs, and then have a chance at the Memorial Cup. That would be awesome. I love the Memorial Cup. I love seeing the QMJHL, WHL, and OHL all come together and see who can like take it. But we'll see what happens. I really like this signing. And if you want more details on the signing, go to the Chicago Blackhawks page on the Hockey News, where you will see stuff I wrote on that, stuff I wrote on the call up of Del Mastro sending down Wyatt Kaiser. Today, a piece on how the Winnipeg Jets are interested in Jonathan Taves. So very excited to talk Blackhawks. It's been a fun year so far. I wish they were a little bit better. They're developing though. It's going to take a while. They'll get there eventually, hopefully. But last thing Blackhawks I wanted to touch on before we moved on. Kyle Davidson's been following around the Colorado Avalanche a lot lately. What's going on there? I don't really like the last 2 Avalanche games. He was in attendance. And now the rumors are swirling that they would like to add Seth Jones. If I'm a Blackhawks fan, I'm going to NHL.com right now. I'm buying a Seth Jones jersey shirt. Don't buy a jersey because he won't be there long enough for you to care to have a jersey. But just a jersey shirt, spend the $30 on the t-shirt, and root for him to dominate every single game he plays for the rest of the season. Because bump up that trade value, get Colorado to be like, we need that guy. We need Seth Jones to play with Cale Makar, Devin Taves, Sam Girard, and the rest of our defense. And and Kyle Davidson's probably attending these games trying to figure out what he can do to, make this trade happen. What would I want in return? Conversations with Joe Sakic, I'm assuming, their GM, and possibly even just scouting Mikko Rantanen, who becomes an unrestricted free agent on July 1st. I don't think he leaves. I don't. Like, looking back, what super duper stars left? Zach Parise, John Tavares, Stamkos was forced out of Tampa. He didn't want to leave. PK was traded. He was traded twice.
For Shea Weber was a trade, yeah.
For Shea Weber, and then to the Devils was a trade too. I'm talking willingly.
Free agency?
Like the team allows them to leave in free agency. It's rare, man. Everyone was talking Draisaitl. Not so fast, son. People dreaming about McDavid coming to their team. Good luck with that. These consequential players, and I know Rantanen is a consequential player, they don't just leave often. It could happen. Like I named a couple examples. It does happen. Stamkos was a little older. Lightning wanted Gensel. That happens. Zach Parise was 28. John Tavares was 28. Those types of guys leaving is rare. And so we'll see. But if you're Kyle Davidson, why not take a look? What are your thoughts on that? Were you this whole Colorado thing, following them around a little bit?
I think you get Tom to buy a Seth Jones jersey, and then he'll be off the team because anybody he buys a jersey of is gone. So if Tom wants to take one for the team, I'm just saying it wouldn't be a bad idea. Now the whole Rantanen thing, he's not going to leave Colorado and come to Chicago. It's just not going to happen. But by all means, if that's what Davidson's thinking about Seth Jones, sure.
Or something. Like, why is he following Colorado?
The only other thing I would think of is Rantanen. Unless I'm missing something, I don't know who else on the team you would scout for.
Well, there are other players on the Blackhawks that wouldn't be useful to Colorado, I think, too. Ryan Donato, Taylor Hall.
But you probably get something in return, a depth, another lower end player from Colorado.
Yeah. I don't know if Colorado would move on from Casey Middlestat, because then who plays second line center for them? They probably are pissed that Calgary's terrible, because I think they would have loved to reacquire Kadri. Because that's the last time Colorado's top 6 was like, they're great now. They were great when they had Kadri playing.
Yeah. He's a big part of the reason they won the cup.
100%, without question. These teams, they think you win a couple superstars. No, you got to fill out that lineup, bud. I'm about to see Tampa Bay this season in person for the first time tonight. Their top 6 is amazing. It's arguably it's a top 5, top 6. Guess what? Their bottom 6 is horrible. If Kucherov and Gensel and Point don't score, they lose. It's almost like a lock. Like, look at their last 20 games. They're bottom 6. If they want to try and win the cup, they'll be adding at the deadline too. And they've done it before. They traded for Hagel. And he's in the top 6 guy I should have mentioned, Team Canada guy, Cirelli too. I mean, their top 6 is nasty. Kucherov, Gensel, Cirelli, Point. I mean, unbelievable. Tom wants to know if you're challenging him on the jersey. I think you can figure. There's a way to make this a win-win.
I just say he takes one for the team.
Well, he doesn't have to necessarily take one for the team here. Hear me out. What happened this year that will be memorable forever, no matter what?
A Winter Classic Seth Jones.
A Seth Jones Winter Classic jersey. He takes one for the team by getting a player. Tom has the they get traded sticker on him. Our good buddy Dylan Carballo has that too. You want a player traded, have Dylan Carballo buy the jersey. He would never do it with Seth Jones. But Tom also has that label apparently, which I've heard some factual evidence that kind of supports your claim here. Like I remember the 410 Winter Classic jersey. Like, it happens, but like he's the 410 Winter Classic. It's still sick. And the difference between Seth Jones and 410 is what?
I mean, Seth Jones is better than 410.
Seth Jones played in the game of the jersey. 410 played for the Ice Hogs.
Better.
410 played for the Ice Hogs during the Winter Classic, but in 2019. But Jones played in that game, didn't he? He had an assist too, if I remember correctly. Didn't he? He assisted on the Bertuzzi goal, if I remember correctly. That goal read Bertuzzi from Jones.
The writing's on the wall.
Yeah,
just saying.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if he wants Jones off the team, that's a way to make it where the jersey doesn't just go to shit the day he's traded, because it's still a Blackhawks Winter Classic jersey at the end of the day. And take it from me, I have one. They're sick.
That's funny.
They're so sick. It's a jersey worth owning.
It is a jersey worth owning.
It's a jersey worth owning. They're not even my number 1 team. They're not even really my number 2 team. They're near and dear to my heart. I cover them professionally. They're from my hometown, so like I was happy to have a jersey. But like I think if they were my 30th favorite team, I would want it because it is that cool.
It's beautiful.
The only team in the league I'll never spend my own money on one of their jerseys is the New York Rangers. And even if they had a Winter Classic jersey, that's sick. I'd be like, damn.
But if it was gifted, would you love it?
I had a Pavel Bure Rangers jersey gifted to me.
What do you mean you had? Where is it?
I gave it to our good friend Jeremy, big Rangers fan.
Gotcha.
It was not gifted to me in the sense of, hey, I got this for you. It was handed to me. It was handed to me in a group of jerseys that was given to me all at once.
Okay.
And said, here, do what you want with them. There was a Crosby Penguins, which I kept all of them except the Ranger one. Joey took a couple too. There's a Malkin jersey that's like, it wouldn't fit my car.
Did you wear the Bure jersey?
I never wore it, no.
Would you wear a Rangers jersey?
It would have to be under extreme circumstances. They have to beat Ottawa or something for the Devils to make the playoffs on the final day of the season. I would absolutely do that. I used to say I hate the Cubs more than I like the White Sox. That's not really true anymore. But I don't hate the Rangers more than I love the Devils. That is not in my DNA. I want them. They're the biggest rival. Like you want your biggest rival to suffer in sports, but like, you know, I loved Handsome Hank. Ryan Callahan was one of my favorite players because him and Zach Parise were the 2 first American captains to meet each other in the conference final. Like, you know, I always loved Ryan Callahan for that reason. Marty St. Louis, like unbelievable. Got to see St. Louis a couple weeks ago when the Habs were in town. But, you know, the Rangers are the Rangers.
Yeah, Tom's got the Liberty one. It's really cool.
That is what the Bure jersey was.
Yeah, it's a cool logo.
It's a good jersey. Yeah, it's a really good jersey. I don't know. It's probably a little different than the Rangers one Tom has, but it was navy blue rather than Ranger blue. And it said it had the NYR with the Liberty and then Pavel Bure on the back, which I also have a Bure Canucks jersey, but it's huge. You'll probably never see me wear it. I've been thinking about hanging it one day. It's a white jersey. It's the Blades, like with the yellow and black and red.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you next time you're over. But Frank, the New Jersey Devils went through a little bit of a skid from Christmas until the other night. And then the other night, they beat the Boston Bruins in regulation for the first time since 2021. Jacob Markstrom got hurt in that game. But they looked like the Devils of old. There's a rumor that they had norovirus go around the locker room, and that's not an excuse for playing like crap. If you're in the lineup, you got to play. But everybody seems to be a little healed up. All of a sudden, they look like the Devils that were going before Christmas. I'm interested to see what you think of them, because through all that, they still got points. They went to overtime, beat the Lightning in overtime the one game, still were getting to overtime in other games that they lost. And lo and behold, they still have the 6th or 7th best record in the NHL.
Who's their
despite the
next
skid.
opponent?
Their next opponent is,
And when?
They play Philly back-to-back next week. Tomorrow they play the Habs.
So they don't play tonight.
No, they do not play tonight.
So Devils are in a slump, still, in my opinion. Big win the other night against the Bruins.
Yeah, you need to string together a couple. Yeah, you're not out of it yet.
They need to beat the Canadiens, and then we'll be like, all right, Devils are out of their slump, getting out of their slump. This is the worst hockey we've seen out of them this year, up until that Bruins game. They've completely blown their lead in the Metro. And it was a concern for me that they were leading the Metro early on, but they had the most games played by any team in the division by like 3 or 4 games. And still to this day, they have the most games played by any team in the Metro. The only difference is you're further down the standings than you were. You're not in first anymore. It hasn't even out completely. It's starting to even out a little bit, but they still have 1 or 2 games more played, and that's thanks to the global series against Buffalo early on to start the season. That's the reason why they've played more games. But the offense, the explosive offense that we've often seen a lot, has not been there. It's not been that explosive. It came to life against the Bruins, and that's the offense we need to see and we're used to from the Devils. But it hasn't been there on a consistent basis. This team, when they're at their best, has one of the best offenses in the league, and they've lost that over their last 15 or so games. But like I said, you looked good against the Bruins. You play Montreal tomorrow. If you show that same performance up against Montreal, you score 4 goals. It'd be nice to score 4. You don't want to win 2 to 3 goals. You don't want to win like that. I mean, because your team's built off your offense. This, like I said, this core is so explosive. You get 3, 4 goals, 5 goals against the Habs. You get the win. You're starting to dig out of that slump. You start to be less worried about this team.
Yep, and I did appreciate that through the slump, which is unlike their slumps last year. They collected points.
Yeah.
And let me be very clear. I don't care. They had a 5-game point streak where they went 1-0-4. If you're going to go through a slump,
at least you're collecting points.
Every team goes through slumps. Some of them don't all end up in overtime. The Florida Vegas lost 5 in a row last week. Yeah, Vegas. It happens to every team. I'm happy they collected points. Yeah, they did.
They beat the good teams. They beat them.
It looked like it was gonna be a Blackhawks special too, where they go into the first intermission leading.
They almost beat the Hurricanes too. They beat the good team. Expect the win against the Lightning.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, if Vlasic can shut down the point line, they'll have a chance. But anyway, they'll have a chance. But the Devils, 25 regulation wins. That's tied for 3rd in the East. Only 5 teams in the East have a winning percent or a points percentage over 600 or better. Devils are one of them. They have more points than Florida. They have more points than Boston, Tampa. They're 8 points clear of a playoff spot. They're 7 points clear of the next closest Metro team. So if you're gonna slump, it was a good time for it. If you're gonna, not only is it a good time for it, you also went to overtime like 6 times in a span of 7 games. Where last year, they just never went to overtime even. And that cost them the playoffs at the end of the day. None of the teams below the playoff line scare me in terms of catching them. Columbus is, man, I hope they finish the job.
I don't know if you remember what I said about them.
Yeah, I do. I hope you're wrong. I think yourself hopes you're wrong. Like, after all that tragedy that they had, like, man, it'd be cool if they got in. and they've been playing that Fantilli hat trick where his mom was the first person in the building to throw a hat onto the ice. So cool. But I guess we'll see what happens. We have a bit of breaking news. Tony DeAngelo,
Oh boy.
1-year contract with the New York Islanders. So after all his issues and some of the accusations against him in terms of his character, decides and from a hockey standpoint, he was dominating the KHL.
Yeah.
Dominating. And he decides it's a good idea to join the 19, 20, and 7 New York Islanders, who are currently 8 points out of a playoff spot and below 500 in terms of points. Yeah, weird move.
I feel like the Islanders do that with some players. They like make
They're probably
moves
going to
that
be
don't make
sellers.
sense.
They're probably
they
going to
do
be
this.
sellers.
Like people were confused about Bo Horvat.
At least they made the playoffs.
But it's just weird. They make some weird moves sometimes.
They do. They absolutely do. And listen, the Islanders were in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final back-to-back years, a couple years ago. So it's not like they're a dog crap organization. But right now, I wish they would commit to rebuild. Like, this isn't it. This isn't it. So we'll see what they do with Kyle Palmieri and Brock Nelson, who are both on expiring contract. Maybe they sign DeAngelo to try and flip him in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
He comes to the NHL and has 10 points in his first 15 games with the Islanders. All of a sudden, by March 7th, they can flip him for a third-round pick. I mean, that would be good business. That would be real good business.
Maybe.
I just wish he wasn't such a questionable person because the game on the ice is there. So, yeah. Frank, really quick to we'll end on hockey here. Team Sweden's in trouble for the World Cup or for the Four Nations face-off. Jacob Markstrom is going to be out. He'll probably return the game back from the Four Nations face-off. The Devils play 7 games between now and then, and there's no back-to-backs there. So we'll see if Jake Gallen starts them all or all but one. There's really no reason for him not to play. He's been the legit backup where he starts like 1 out of 5 games. So now he can kind of get a load in and be ready for the stretch run. Markstrom, that first game back on February 22nd against Dallas Stars, kind of fits the mold. Maybe they just wait till March. March 1st would be a good return. But at the end of the day, Sweden's not going to have him. Linus Ullmark is currently hurt. They believe he might come back in time to play in that. But now William Karlsson is guaranteed to not be playing too. So they got a forward and a goalie to replace and possibly 2 goalies. All of a sudden, I think Sweden goes from right there with Canada and the U.S. to I'm not seeing it if they're down to 2 goalies and Wild Bill. Wild Bill, he would play a big role, that two-way centerman that you use in all situations.
Who would be the backup goaltenders?
Well, they have the 3 that made the team are Linus Ullmark, Jacob Markstrom, and Philip Gustafsson, who's awesome. They would have a chance to win if he was the starter. But to go from 3 elite to 1 elite, then you're like one bad break from going to, like, I think Samuel Ersson from the Philadelphia Flyers would probably be next in line to like replace Markstrom if they don't have to replace both. If they have to replace both, I don't even know where they would go for the second guy after Ersson. Wild Bill, I hope Leo Carlsson from Anaheim makes it in his spot. That's my pick. But I still think overall the team's in trouble without Wild Bill specifically.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's a tough loss.
Huge.
I mean, look at how much of a role he played in just on the team in general, like with the Golden Knights and winning cups and winning a cup. But like he's just a huge part of that team.
I think Wild Bill's one of the 20 best centers in the NHL. He sacrifices offense. I say it all the time. That first year with Vegas, he had 40 goals. He wasn't looking to be like a Selke guy. Every year after, he's been like a Selke type guy, top 10 in votes, and he scores like anywhere from 25 to 30 now. Like, that's a sacrifice Vegas is willing to make when you have Jack Eichel and Tomas Hertl ahead of him as centers on the team. And man, and he wouldn't be Sweden's top offensive threat. They would look to guys like, Filip Forsberg and Elias Pettersson and some other superstars that Sweden has. He would the role he plays, though. It's so hard to win without that kind of guy. So yeah, I think Sweden's in trouble. Not good.
That isn't good. Then yeah, no.
All right, Frank, we're gonna flip it over to football here as we get into the second half of the show. Did you happen to look up the 5 guys that were nominated for most valuable player in the
Yeah,
NFL?
I got him right here.
You got them right there. So I think off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, it is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, and Jared Goff.
Yep.
Is that the 5?
Yep.
That is the 5. Okay. I mean, it's a two-headed race for the winner, but I think the guy that's going to come in third actually deserves to win, but he won't because they're cowards.
I think that, well, so you took the words out of my mouth, basically, because there's 5 actual candidates. But
they all deserve it.
But in my head, there's really 3 only candidates, but then there's 2 clear favorites. And the 2 clear favorites are Josh Allen and Lamar. And I think the third candidate that has a chance but really doesn't have a chance is Saquon Barkley. I think.
That's fair.
But
all 5 deserve it. All 5. You name one of them, and I'll tell you why they should win.
I assume your third is Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. My dude.
Because he's had a great season.
He was the best quarterback in the NFL this season. It is undeniable. It's undeniable. Josh Allen's right there, and so is Lamar for different reasons. Joe Burrow was the best quarterback in the NFL this season, and his team failed him.
It's tough.
It is tough. It reminds me of like when Phil Rivers was in his prime. Phil Rivers was never the best quarterback in the NFL. Joe Burrow is way better than he was. But like that team would be 4-12 and Rivers would have like 4,800 passing yards, 30 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, and they'd be 4-12. Like what are we doing here? I don't even know why he stayed for as long as he did. Maybe because having 9 kids is easier in California than it is in Illinois or, New York or whatever. But man, Joe Burrow got robbed this year because I think if he was on a team that won the division and had a chance to win the Super Bowl, he'd be the MVP. I have little doubt.
I mean, there's a chance, but
no, I don't think there's a chance. He might come in 5th.
I don't know.
Out of the 5. They hate when you don't make playoffs.
I'm saying I think there'd be a chance if he won the division and had a great year. I'm saying I think there'd be a chance that
he won it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think
not now. He doesn't have a chance.
I think he'd be the lock.
Yeah, he doesn't have a chance right now.
No, he might come in 5th out of those 5.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
It's a 2-headed race between Lamar and Josh Allen.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the votes are in.
Yeah,
we don't know
over.
them. Like they don't count playoffs.
Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP winner.
Yep.
Remarkable season.
Elite player.
In fact, Lamar Jackson was the first quarterback in NFL history to have a 4,000 passing yard season and a 900 rushing yard season in a single year. That's an unbelievable feat. I think Josh Allen takes it, unbiasedly. If you take a look at his stats and what he did for the Bills this year, he had nearly the same stats as Lamar did. Obviously, Lamar had more rushing yards, but Josh Allen did more with less than what Lamar Jackson had to work with. No Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis. There are question marks coming in the year. How is the offense going to react? Josh Allen broke tons of records this year. Tons of records. Every time I turned on the TV, Josh Allen's the first quarterback to do this. He's the first quarterback to do this. He was able to defeat the Chiefs Lions. Dominant. It's his career best. I mean, it's the best year he's ever had. And he's been runner-up in MVP voting in worse years of his career where he wasn't as good. He was the first player to score. He had 40 touchdowns this year. He's the first player with 40 or more touchdowns in 5 straight seasons. He's the first quarterback to have 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in a game. Get that through your head. That's insane. That's a 6-touchdown game with 3 of them being rushing touchdowns. He's the only quarterback in NFL history to have a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown in the same game. He's limited his turnovers immensely. Not to mention that, like I said, every time you turn on TV, it's just he's the first to do that. The team as a whole had 8 turnovers this year. That's less than a half a turnover a game. I mean, just that's unbelievable. None against the Ravens. That game don't count anyway, but just to kind of sprinkle the stats there. I mean, he had none against the Ravens. It's just unbelievable. It's got to be his year to win it. If he's come in second before, how do you not win it with these stats? I don't understand.
Do you got me?
Yeah, you were gone a little bit, but you're here.
But I'm back. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Josh Allen had 6 interceptions. That's
Insane.
unbelievable how much he cut it down. I was talking about this with a friend last week. And they said that he had a bunch of interceptions. And I didn't have the stats in front of me, but it didn't sound right. But I didn't challenge it because, again, I didn't have the stats in front of me. Yeah, they were wrong. He has 6 interceptions this season. That's just absolutely unreal what he did. It's been a great year for him. And Lamar only had 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, to say that they both deserve it is an understatement. I think, Jared Goff, look at his numbers. He deserved it. The fact that the guy who helped him reach those numbers is the new Chicago Bears head coach is just absolutely awesome. But we'll see how that goes. But man, there's a lot of talent in the NFL. And hey, Saquon Barkley's proof that maybe we should have 2 different MVP awards, one for quarterbacks and one for position players, because he's just as valuable to the Eagles as Jalen Hurts or any other player that's on Philly now. I do think it's not that much of a coincidence to me. I think the offensive line is just as important in football as the quarterback. Just look at Philly. Without Jason Kelce, their offensive line still was one of the best in the NFL. I mean, Lane Johnson, some of these other guys that they have on that offensive line, just absolutely unbelievable. And Barkley goes from the Giants, who have stunk his entire career there, to playing on this team. It's like, yeah, no shit. He went from being, an elite guy on a bad team, a Lamborghini in a trailer park, to a Lamborghini in, Barrington Hills or whatever the rich towns are. Like, it's really cool to see. And my final prediction is that Lamar wins his 3rd in a row. But I think Josh Allen deserves it too. Like, if he wins it, I'm not going to feel dumb or wrong because I think they both deserve it. We'll see how it goes. There should be one in each conference too, by the way, like baseball. Then you could give one to Jared Goff, who absolutely deserves it too. Number 1 pick. He wants to go to the Hall of Fame too. He's probably not going to. He'll probably fall short. Maybe he will go. Like, Matthew Stafford was a better overall player by a lot, but like Jared Goff really, like, since going to Detroit, he like reeled it in and got it together. I don't think anybody in their right mind would say that Stafford isn't better, but would you say the Rams won that trade? Maybe because they won the Super Bowl. Yeah. But, if that's the tiebreaker, fine. But the Lions, they got so many things out of that Matthew Stafford trade that, like, if you look up the other players that they got, we can actually do that really quick. I want to say it right on air. Exactly. Because it was more, they were going to cut. I thought they were going to draft another quarterback.
The reason for the trade was to win a Super Bowl. So I would say they won that trade.
Yes. But yeah, it was for a 3rd-round pick, a 1st-round pick, another 1st-round pick, and Jared Goff. And the guys they got, Louis Singh, amazing defensive back. Well, I don't know about amazing, but they got Paris Johnson. Didn't realize that. Yeah, it's just the fact that Goff became what he was is truly remarkable, and he deserves to be in this conversation. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Everybody is deserving. And then, did you see the coaches of the year?
Yep.
You can list those off because I don't remember them all off the top of my head. I know Andy Reid was not one of them.
No, he was one of them.
Oh, he was one of them. Okay. And then obviously I'm sure Kevin O'Connell was.
Yep.
Because the Vikings were amazing and their over-under in the preseason was 6 wins. I'm sure Dan Campbell had to have been one. Was Washington's guy, Dan Quinn? Yep. Who else was sick and they weren't supposed to be? That's kind of how this award goes. Hey, we thought you were going to suck and you were awesome. Outside of Andy Reid. You could just say it.
Sean Payton.
Oh, yeah. The Broncos were sick.
Yeah.
The Broncos were real good.
It's got to be Kevin O'Connell, though, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's got to be.
But I do think it's a 2-horse race. Sean Payton, nice season. Broncos were way better than we expected, especially in that division. But Dan Quinn has to get some kind of love too.
Oh, yeah.
The Commanders were sick, and nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
But I think the tiebreaker out of the two for me, because I think the R-Words preseason over-under was 7 and the Vikings was 6. So, like, what's the difference? They were both expected to be mid to bad, and then they were good. The Vikings lost J.J. McCarthy, who was expected to be their starter in the preseason, to a season-ending injury. And then Darnold came in, a bust, and dominated all year. Was amazing, 14 wins. And spare me of what happens in the playoffs. Teams lose in the playoffs. Can you win a Super Bowl with Darnold? Maybe not, but can you win 14 games with him? Clearly. Also, they play in the NFC North. They went 14-2 in the historically greatest division of all time. The greatest historically division of all time that won 0 playoff games. But again, it's not where it counts. It's not an award for the playoffs. I would give it to O'Connell. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's got to be.
All right, Frank, we're going to end it. We're going to end the regular portion of the show, the pre-breaking bets portion of the show, by predicting what we think is going to go down on Sunday in Championship Sunday. The first game of the day will be the Philadelphia Eagles against the Washington Commanders, and then the night game, the big matchup, the best rivalry in the NFL right now, the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. We will start first with a prediction for what happens again in the matchup, the NFC East matchup of the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles.
I've been saying since partway through the regular season, Eagles, they're going to be in the Super Bowl. They could take down the Lions. They don't have to do that. Commanders did it for them. Now we got this is a good rivalry matchup. Division rivals going head-to-head for the NFC Championship. I'm going to side with the Eagles. I just think, Jaden Daniels, what he did this year, fantastic. I believe he's the 6th rookie to start a championship game. But is he going to make it to the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I think he's still got to pay his dues. This game, listen, I think most people are going to pick the Eagles. It's a rivalry game. It's like if the Lions played the Packers in a game for the NFC Championship. Right? It's just one of those games that could go either way. Or if the Steelers played the Ravens and the Steelers were that much worse than the Ravens, could the Steelers win? Absolutely. Could the Commanders win? Yes. I don't think it's going to happen. People who've been doubting the Eagles all year, it's crazy to me. I saw the Eagles getting there. I'm going to back with it. I can't back out of it now. They've looked fantastic. Well, they actually hasn't looked fantastic, but they're like the NFC Chiefs. They just find ways to win, and I think they're going to do it again against their division rival. Come on, tell me you're choosing the Commanders.
Listen to me, bitch. Listen to me. On USA Today, making my predictions. I am 5-5. I'm 5-5. Very mid predictor this year, and I've been good in the playoffs in recent years. I've gone like 8-2 in recent years, picking playoff games.
You're 5-5, like 5 wins, 5 losses?
Yeah. Oh. So mid. But I have integrity. I'll tell you when I was wrong. 4 of those 5 losses have been picking against the Eagles and the Commanders. I picked against each of them twice. 4 of my 5 losses. If I just reverse those 2 teams, I'd be 8-2 in my playoff predictions.
Well, I'm 9-1, brother.
I've been a hater. Yeah, we flipped roles. No, flipping roles would be me being 2
I only lost
8.
was taking the Lions against the Commanders.
Yeah. Oh, hey, and everybody in the world picked that one. Like nobody. You shouldn't even feel bad about that, in my opinion. But I've picked against both of them all year long. So who am I going to disrespect again, and who am I going to flip on right here? Obviously, from top to bottom,
Don't do it.
the Philadelphia
Come
Eagles
on.
are a better team. The Philadelphia Eagles are
Use your
better in
brain,
every way.
VP.
The only thing the Commanders have better than the Eagles is quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts is awesome. He's a top 10 quarterback. He's probably 10 or 11 or 12. Some people don't like whatever. You're wrong. He's in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs every year. He's awesome. He's not as good as Jaden Daniels. But the overall team in Washington isn't as good as the overall team in Philly. The only offensive line I would consider taking over Philly now that Kelsey retired is Detroit. Detroit's offensive line with Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow. I mean, that's the best offensive line in the NFL, in my opinion. Philly's close. They're right there. I wholeheartedly think the Eagles are better. And I think there's no chance that they win this game.
That's crazy.
None.
Cool.
None.
That's unbelievable.
Aunt Miss says Vinny picked they're not called that anymore, buddy. They're called the R words or the Commanders. but I think they're going to win. I think they're going to beat the Eagles. I'm probably going to be wrong because I have to be right. I have to go 1-1 this weekend to keep my mid.
Going 0-2.
I want to be mid. You don't know what I'm going to pick in the next game, but maybe you do. I wholeheartedly think the Commanders are going to do what they've done all postseason long, and I don't even think it's going to be close. I think they beat them by 2 scores. I'm taking the Commanders and the points.
I see Walmart once again had a good sale, huh?
On the glue. The Commanders are going to represent in the Super Bowl.
It could happen.
They're going to make it to the Super Bowl.
It's not crazy, but I just don't see it. The Eagles are the NFC Chiefs that just find ways to win, even when they don't look good.
You can't call a team the NFC. No.
There's not another team in the NFC that finds ways to win even when they look bad. There's not. Either
no, and I get that. And last year the Eagles, Detroit is about to go through next year what the Eagles went through last year, where they're still a good team, but they lost both coordinators, and it's going to take time to get that back. Now the Eagles have 2 coordinators again that they're confident in. Things are working again. And so Detroit fans, next year when your team is just very mid, they make the playoffs but lose in the first round, don't panic, because I think Detroit will be right back in it again the following year. They'll be good for a long time. But, yeah, Commanders.
It's crazy.
And then, Frank, the night game. The big old AFC championship game between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen meeting each other in the playoffs. Is it the 5th time? The 5th time in the playoffs?
Fourth.
Maybe it's 4th.
I think it's
6th or 7th overall, though.
I think it's
Frank,
7 overall.
You like the Bills. I think they're your favorite team in the NFL. I stand by that. You like them more than the Bears. You like them more than the Steelers. We'll see how long you do. But as of, January 24th, in the year of our Lord and Savior, 2025, they are your favorite team. I'd like to hear where your mind's going with this.
VP, it's going to happen. They're going to beat the Chiefs. They will beat the Chiefs. I'm just letting you know. You could smirk. You say never go against Patrick Mahomes. You can have whatever your reasons may be. You can have whatever your reasons may be. But the time is now. And it's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be an uphill battle. We got to beat the refs and we got to beat the Chiefs. It's going to be tough.
Stop it.
It's true. If you think you're crazy, you're crazy. The refs love Patrick Mahomes. Let's call it what it is. I'm excited that the guy reffing the game, Mahomes is 6-5 in those games he refs. The most fair ref there is. I cannot wait. This is the time we stop the 2-time repeating Super Bowl champs going for the three-peat. We stop them in their tracks. I can't wait. And everybody, there's so many doubters. I gotta send you a video, a really funny video about the Chiefs Bills game that I think is so funny that you're gonna love. Bills get it done, VP. I'm sorry, it's gonna happen. I hate to crush your dreams here of a
My dreams. I don't give a shit.
of a 3 repeating Super Bowl champion, but it's not gonna happen.
Frank, there was only one truly egregious call in the last game against the Texans for the Chiefs. The play where 2 Texans players hit each other and they called interference on Mahomes. That one was terrible. Those guys are missing the entire 2025 season if I'm Roger Goodell. That was brutal. Horrible. But the Chiefs, everybody thinks, oh, the NFL loves them. The NFL wants them to win. First of all, no, they don't. They want the New York Giants to win. They want the Los Angeles Rams to win. They want the Chicago Bears to win. They don't want the Kansas City Chiefs to win. Okay? I could tell you that for a fact. The NHL, NFL, MLB, they want the MLB had a stroke with the Dodgers playing the Yankees this year. That was awesome in their brain. Okay? They're not rooting for Kansas City, a little barbecue town, to win 3 straight Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes takes advantage of penalties more than every other quarterback, so it makes it seem like his are worse. When you watch a Bengals Chargers game on a Sunday, you don't think there's a couple bad calls in those games, but they're not on national TV.
It's the roughing the passer calls that are really bad.
Well,
or like unnecessary roughness out of bounds.
Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts and these guys don't get hit as much as Mahomes.
I mean, I've seen some calls like that weren't Chiefs games, like when he run out of bounds. I'm like, I don't know how that's a flag, but Mahomes will get hit by a feather in the wind and it'll be unnecessary roughness. It's
happens,
unbelievable.
but he, more than everybody else, will take that 10-yard penalty and turn it into 7 points. That's his greatness. That's why everybody hates the Chiefs. They get these calls sometimes, and then they take advantage of it more than everybody else. That's a fact. I think the Buffalo Bills are better than the Chiefs in every way. More than the Eagles are better than the Commanders. Allen played better than Mahomes this year. The Chiefs are one of like 4 teams to not score 30 points. The other 3 are like 3-15 or 4-12, whatever. And they went 15-2. And they would have went 16-1 if they played all their guys in the last game of the season, and that would have allowed the Bengals in. The Chiefs didn't want the Bengals to win because Joe Burrow's the only active quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. Again, the Bills, they have no reason to lose this game. They should win it by multiple scores like they did when they played in the regular season. And they're just not going to. They're just not going to. Like, I have watched enough football. And listen, I'm going to be wrong one of these years. The great Tom Brady didn't win the Super Bowl every year. In fact, he went a decade in between Super Bowls. People forget that. He won 3. A decade went by, then he won 4. It's not going to happen. I will be stunned. I just don't see it. The Bills, they have the better team. Their offense is elite. Kansas City's defense is slightly better, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Than their defense, I don't know. It shouldn't matter. This is where teams fold. When they play the Chiefs in the playoffs, they stop doing what is good for them. What is the best part about the Bills? Josh Allen. They didn't even use Josh Allen enough against the Ravens, and they won. Probably should have lost. I was rooting for them. They probably should have lost. If Mark Andrews doesn't have oil dripped all over his hands and catches the 2-point conversion, there's a good chance they win that game in overtime. The Bills pulled the Chiefs in that game and won using some voodoo wizardry and bullshit. The Chiefs are a team I'm not picking against any longer. I will not do it. Do I think they deserve to lose? They are the worst team of the two? Absolutely. Absolutely. The Bills are way better. I want the Bills to win. I want to show up to our Super Bowl party. We will be watching the Super Bowl together again this year. Very excited about that, Frank. There's no one I'm more excited to watch the Super Bowl with than you this year. I am stoked. I can't wait. We're gonna be watching the Chiefs, man.
No.
I hope it's the Bills. I'll show up with chicken wings to represent Buffalo. It'll be awesome. Chiefs. They're gonna win by some weird thing right at the end. Right at the end.
You can't let them get the ball back at the end in a 1-score game. You can't.
And the over-under for Tony Romo to bring that up, by the way, is 4.5 times. You can't let them. Frank, the Bills, they went ahead with 13 seconds left 2 years ago. And then Mahomes had 13 seconds to drive them down the field and kick a game winner, and they did. That's just not the team I'm picking against.
That's why you can't let that happen.
I want them to win. They have to go into the final possession up by 2. Like they did in the regular season. Yeah, 2 scores.
Like they did, yeah.
In the regular season. I hope I'm wrong. I believe the Commanders will be playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It's also like some weird voodoo wizardry and bullshit that goes against the Chicago Bears fan because 2 quarterbacks that they passed up on, and I still believe in Caleb Williams. I still think he could be better than Jaden Daniels. But as of right now, like the edge goes to Daniels. He played better this year. He just did. They also passed up on Mahomes for Trubisky. What team does Trubisky play for now? The Buffalo Bills. It's all a story, man. It's a story. This league, everything about it, it's a story. I'm just telling you. It's crazy, honestly. Absolutely nuts. But yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm
you're wrong too.
All right, Frank, it's time for America's favorite podcast segment of the week. Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
I want to address Skylar's comment. Yes, I think you don't evaluate till year 3. That's my wholehearted opinion. Bryce Young outplayed C.J. Stroud in the second half of this season. That's just a fact.
What does he mean with the
Heard
fact?
that on the radio. Like passing up, the Bears passed up on Jaden Daniels, and Ryan Poles would have been fired the next day. The Ryan Poles would have been fired the next day if he drafted Jaden Daniels first overall. Let's make that very clear too. So yeah, Frank, the floor is yours with America's favorite podcast segment of the week, Breaking Bets.
All right. Don't have a graphic for 2025 yet, but got 3 picks for you. Start off with the NHL before we get into the championship game Sunday. Got the Flyers and the Islanders tonight. I think the Flyers are being a little disrespected in this game based off the line. Flyers are plus 145. I like the Flyers money line tonight. I think they could go into New York and win. Flyers been on a roll, winning 4 of their last 5 games. They got some good wins in there as well, along with beating the Islanders a few games back, 5-3 on the road. Islanders have also been playing well, and their defense has choked up a bit. But in their first game of the season against one another, against the Flyers matched up real well against them. It was a close game down to the wire, but the team looked real good. Where the Islanders defense was having problems stopping the Flyers offense, didn't look great as it does now. And maybe that's because the Flyers match up well up against them. That's what I think, at least. So with how hot the Flyers have been and the way they wore down the Islanders in game 1 of the regular season series, I'm going to have to side with the Flyers again. with this value. Flyers money line plus 145. Bet 1 unit. Championship Sunday. Commanders Eagles. I think the value here is not on the game lines itself, but with Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown. Anytime touchdown score, minus 120, bet to win 2 units. Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown's always a safer type of bet. He scored a touchdown in 3 of his last 5 games. He scored one against the Rams last week, and that wasn't even at the goal line. He took off and ran and scored a touchdown, very long touchdown. If the Eagles get down to the 1-yard line, it's game over. They may or may not. That I don't know about that. It's an automatic if it happens, though. The Commanders' defense isn't that great. I think the Eagles are going to move the ball smoothly and get chances down in the red zone. And if the Eagles get down there enough, like I think they will, it's only a matter of time before Hurts gets into the end zone. You can only stop him for so many times in a row. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown score, minus 120, bet to win 2 units. And finally, Bills Chiefs. I know VP knows what I'm going with. Bills money line, plus 105, bet to win 10 units. This is it. The time's now. Josh Allen's never beaten Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game until now. This Bills team, best we've seen in our lifetime. This is the best Josh Allen has looked since he's come into the NFL. The Buffalo Bills as a team has only turned the ball over 8 times the entire year. Less than half a turnover a game. Tied an NFL record. They had 0 turnovers versus the Ravens. If they're going to beat the Chiefs, you have to play a full 60 minutes. You can't turn the ball over, and you have to limit how often the ball is in Mahomes' hands. By limiting your turnovers, you limit how often the ball is in Mahomes' hands, much like they did in their first meeting of the regular season this year. At the end of the game, Bills took extra risks to make sure Mahomes didn't get the ball in his hands at the end of the game. And when Mahomes did finally get the ball back with minimal time left, it was a 2-score game. That's how you got to beat the Chiefs, and I don't think there's a better team that could end Patrick Mahomes' run than this Bills team. Because if they make it to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs, they will win it. Bills money line.
There you go.
Plus 105, 10 units.
There you go. Me and Frank have the exact opposite Super Bowls. That's the beauty of this show. I don't know what's actually going to happen. Sports are dumb. Sports are dumb. Anybody who acts like they got it down, show me your bet slip and why you're so smart and how you've gotten 10 green check marks in a row. That's why I laugh at people when they act like they're just the smartest person of all time when they make predictions. Player evaluations, you could say some dumb stuff, like some really dumb stuff, like claiming Josh Allen isn't that good. Like no, that's dumb. That makes you an idiot that doesn't watch. Saying Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, saying any of these guys aren't good, that would make you an idiot and that you don't watch. Predicting a game, the outcome, nobody's an idiot because anything can happen. Just telling you. Just telling you, man. All right, Frank, what an outstanding show. A lot of fun leading into Championship Sunday. I'm super stoked. Going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to discuss it further. Make sure you're watching some hockey this weekend, too. That's very important. But hell yeah. And if you're at the United Center today and you see me, say hello. Tampa Bay Lightning, Chicago Blackhawks. Tomorrow I'll be online doing the New Jersey Devils against the Montreal Canadiens. Les Bleus, Blanc and Rouge. Frank, thank you for doing the show with me, man.
It was a lot of fun. Good show today.
Very, very good. And as always, for the Barroom Network, make sure you subscribe, like, enjoy. As always, thank you for listening.